There is one scene in the Barbie movie that we have to talk about. Let's get into it. First things first, I'm not the hugest Barbie fan, okay? I don't think I even own anything in pink. I just kind of wore normal clothes to the theater, but overall, I'd say I did enjoy the movie. And there's one scene in particular which caught my attention. And being a medical person, this is the scene where Ken ends up going to a hospital. I don't know if I can play this scene. I feel like I'd get in trouble for like copyright infringement. So I'm just going to describe it to you. And spoiler alert, if you want to avoid any spoilers, you're going to want to skip this video. So in the scene, it happens when Ken is experiencing the real world for the first time. And in quite a contrast to his life in Barbie Land, where he's kind of a second-class citizen, being a male character there, he finds that there's quite a lot of patriarchy going on in the real world. So he's looking at gym bros working out in the gym, and then CEOs, presumably of a really big business, and they're all men. And he's just really overjoyed that he's being treated with so much respect. And I think he wants to kind of take advantage of that. And so in this scene, Ken shows up at a hospital. And first of all, he can't believe it. He sees a surgeon who happens to be female. And he's just very surprised by that. He just assumed that the surgeons would all be male. And then playing on that further, he then says that, hey, can I perform surgery? And then his rationale for doing that is that he is a man himself. And so, needless to say, the female surgeon does not buy that because he never went to medical school. He has no credentials and wouldn't even know how to do the surgery. But, obviously this is very extreme. This is a joke. But it is playing on something very real. And that is that the medical profession, historically speaking, was not winning any awards on diversity and inclusion. I'll include a little snippet here, a little picture of the University of California, Davis School of Medicine class roster. I believe this is from 1972. So let's blow it up big on the screen here. What do you notice? Well, not only is this not the most ethnically or racially diverse group of students, but it's also mostly male. In fact, I only count a couple females in the whole class. And I think that was the case for a long time. It was probably even worse the further back you go in history. If you look at those real old-timey pictures of doctors in training, and they're like and they're wearing suits, and they're in this old school operating theater, I think they used to call it, where they're just watching operations happen. Pretty much all men back then. And by the 1970s, things were opening up a little bit, but I think medicine was still very much dominated by males. In fact, my mother is actually a pediatrician, and she graduated, I think, in 1973, so around the same time. And she would say that she was one of only a few women in her class. Now, I do think times are changing. Let's contrast the picture we just saw of the class roster from 1972 with one from 2023. So this picture right here, and actually I'll blow it up big on the screen, this is the Stanford Surgery Residency class of 2023. So what do you notice here? So in a stark contrast with the picture from the roster from 1972, we see much more women. In fact, almost the whole class is women. I only see one male student here. And it's also more racially or ethnically diverse, certainly, than the class we saw from the 70s. So definitely a lot of changes, much more diversity now than before. And I think this is especially noteworthy because general surgery was traditionally one of the more male-dominated fields. In contrast with, let's say, pediatrics or OBGYN. Actually, I think OB-GYN has more women than men in the profession now. But I think we're going to continue to see changes, more women in the medical field, in particular the surgical subspecialties. There's some of which, like neurosurgery, interventional radiology, I think are still very much a predominantly male majority, even in this day and age. Now, that being said, I mean, I don't think some discrepancies are the end of the world, right? Like, no one's really shooting for perfect 50% male, 50% female in all the different specialties. I don't think that's a reasonable or even a goal that's worth aspiring towards. I don't think it's a problem that more obstetricians are female than male. And, you know, if some other specialty might be a little bit more male than female, you know, probably not a big deal. But I'll tell you what is a problem is what we saw in the past, where you had complete domination of the whole profession by males. So that's something that obviously we cannot tolerate. And I'd love to say, after looking at class rosters like this, that the bias in favor of males in the medical profession is completely finished. But I don't know if that's the case. And just to give you another example, Medscape did a physician salary report in 2023. And as you can see, male physicians still earn more on average than female physicians. There are some variables here which I'm not sure of. I don't know if they took into account work hours. So a male doctor who's maybe taking a lot of extra shifts obviously is going to make more than a female doctor who chooses not to take additional shifts. And so, you know, these are other variables at play, but one that I think is concerning and definitely worth looking into a little more is the possibility that maybe leadership positions are still given preferentially to male physicians. And perhaps that accounts for some of the salary discrepancy. I don't have a lot of hard data to support that. And so I guess a lot of this is anecdotal. Take it for what you will. But if you look at a lot of the leadership positions at different medical organizations, I've definitely seen more men than women represented in those circles. But again, I think times are changing, and I think we'll see more women in leadership roles for sure. But it's something where I think there's definitely room for improvement here. All right, that's about all I got for this video. You know, I went to go see the Barbie movie, thinking it's just a kid's film and I could turn my brain off, but I don't know, that scene in the hospital got me thinking, and I had a lot of fun making this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.